And you know what? I think we're going to start by putting you right on the spot. We're going to talk about the Earl Thomas situation. So, Sonny, let me hear your thoughts about it. We'll go around and have everybody else say their thoughts.
Okay, so the Earl Thomas thing situation, it's really obviously for the Ravens, it's a big blow on the field. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I mean, Earl Thomas was the best safety in this team. Was he the most important? I would argue Clark right now was, because Clark was relaying the plays, and in the first 4 or 5 weeks, we were struggling to find somebody to call the plays. We tried to give it to Earl Thomas. Earl Thomas couldn't. Tony Jefferson couldn't. The linebackers that we had at the moment, they couldn't either. Chuck Clark took those play calling and he excelled on it. But still, saying that a loss of ET is not big, it is big, right? Now, saying that, I think the Ravens actually did the right thing. Look, I'm gonna throw some shade here to my guy Tony. The Steelers went through a year with AB doing shit like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And reports came out. Earl Thomas missed practice because he came late to practice because he had to go wash his car, right? And that was like the day before this happened, right? So I think they did the right thing. Harbaugh said, like, a Pro Bowler doesn't matter. Nobody's above team play. Team was fed up with him, the guys in the locker room. So I actually think, saying that the locker room is in flames, I actually think the guys are probably more together right now because of what happened, because they saw this guy was disrupting the locker room and they took him out. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to miss Earl Thomas on the field. Of course, that doesn't mean on the field the Ravens are better. I think the replacement that we have, the contingency plan we have, is good. Is it better than ET? No way.
Tony, man, you look like
I've been
you're
here.
frothing at the
Listen,
bit.
Yeah, I've been here, right? I think one of the first shows we ever did together was when I was making the case that the Steelers could be better off without AB, just from a culture standpoint in the locker room. So, Sonny, I am certainly sympathetic to that viewpoint in some ways, right? I mean, especially, like you said, when you're talking about a guy who's completely disrespecting the organization, disrespecting the culture, disrespecting the locker room, disrespecting his other players by saying things like, I'm going to miss this meeting because I had to get my car washed, right? And that's not just a slap in the face of the coaches. That's a slap in the face of every other player in that locker room who is going to those meetings on time, right? Who is putting in the time to get better. And I understand that Earl Thomas is a great player. He's a fantastic safety, right? I mean, we rated him last week as the best safety room in the AFC North. Yeah, but listen, do we want to go back around and re-rate? Do we want to go back maybe we'll go back around and just like, hey, maybe the Steelers are the best.
Nah, that's fine.
That's
fine.
Yeah, okay. I'll skip it. We'll skip it. Yeah. So no, I'm sympathetic to that point, but for the Ravens overall, right? I think this does hurt them because he was a veteran presence on that. I mean, look, the guy was a good player for them last year at free safety, and it leaves a gigantic hole. Sonny, I watched your video. It was a good video that you did on kind of what are the different ways that they can replace him here. And I thought you were very creative there because, I think a lot of people will just kind of pencil in Deshaun Elliott there and just say like, well, it's got to be Deshaun Elliott. But you were talking about maybe moving Jimmy Smith there. I think Harbaugh's brought that up. And I think, you made a lot of great points in there about, look, yes, Jimmy Smith is a good player as a corner, but, we're just talking about putting him at free safety now. I keep harping back on this, right? The lack of practices between now and the lack of preseason games, the lack of preparation that all these teams are going to have between now and the start of the regular season. And I understand Jimmy Smith is a veteran player, but moving him right now from corner to like, hey, you're going to be day one starter at free safety, like he can be a good player there, but not right away, right? I mean, it's going to take some time for him to adjust to that position.
He has been, so let me say something. He has been taking some snaps at free safety because they knew they want to put Jimmy Smith more in the field. But again, it's just I think the contingency plan right now for the Ravens is Elliott and Jimmy rotate. And so Elliott is a free safety from college to now. My problem with Elliott, and if you go to PFF, his grade is actually decent. But in 2 years,
John Elliott?
Yeah, but in 2 years,
but he only played like 20 snaps though. So
in 2 years, he played 4 games total, which is not good. This is the problem. This is what I tell my Ravens fans, like, yo, let's be honest. And I got a couple other YouTubers like, he's not injury prone. When you play 4 games in 2 years, all because of injury, that for me, it's injury prone. Might not be the same injury, but it is injury prone. Sorry, Ace.
Yeah, hey,
No,
so
no,
let me
no.
get your thoughts on this, man.
For me, I was kind of shocked. I mean, I kind of jumped out there on Twitter, and I honestly wasn't even really being serious. I was just kind of trolling PFT because he had some horrible takes on Joe Burrow not wanting to play for the Bengals and all kind of lies. So when he had tweeted out Earl Thomas is going to get cut, I was like, nah, there's no way that they're going to cut them. And then obviously after that, it follows up with Rappaport, and you hear these reports from Schefter, and it's not looking good. And then he goes and he uploads a play of their practice. And I mean, to me, that was just really kind of the final straw, because you're not only exposing plays and offense and stuff to other teams, you're putting that out in the public. There's no telling what that guy could expose after that. And like you guys said, him using the car wash excuse, that was not good. And he also had a rocky offseason. Like, he had the issues with his wife and stuff like that. Not trying to bring that into it, but I think where his headspace is right now, it's not on football. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. And I think some of that drama may have spilled over into his situation with the Ravens. And the Ravens were just like, at this point, if you're not showing up to team meetings, you're blowing assignments, what's the point of having you on the team, man? We can save ourselves $10 million. So it definitely makes sense. It's just crazy because Earl Thomas is so talented, but this was a situation where he wasn't the same, or it appears that Ravens fans and people are saying now that he wasn't the same Earl Thomas that he was in Seattle and Baltimore. Now, I know Ravens fans, you probably know if that's true. I honestly thought he was the same Earl Thomas, but after that, we've kind of heard differently. Chuck Clark, I think that this puts a lot of pressure on him because Earl Thomas is leaving. He's got to be that leader. Like you said, he got the green dot last year, so maybe he's going to take a step. But we're going to have to see. And the Bengals kind of saw something similar to that when Reggie Nelson, a Pro Bowl safety, ended up leaving, and Sean Williams stepped into that role. And there were some growing pains. There were a lot of miscommunications. There were a lot of arguments in the secondary because, guys were expecting people to be in place. And it sounds like this was the opposite for Earl Thomas. But, that is going to be a growing pain. And it dramatically, to me, kind of shifts the talent in that secondary at the safety position, at least, because at first we easily could all say last week around this time, this was the best secondary in football. I think now we can't say that because Earl Thomas was a big piece of that and a big part of that really put that all together. But I think the Ravens will be fine. I really just am interested to see what they do with that $10 million. If that means that they have that in cap space now, does that mean that they pull off a trade for another position or what happens? So we'll have to see what happens.
So let me address quick something. I was just gonna say about the 10 million very quick. Yeah. The 10 millions are not available. We currently owe him that. We are trying to cut him because conduct detrimental to the team. This is gonna go to arbitration. If we're getting that money back, I think it will be next year, not this year.
So it won't count for this year.
It's gonna go through some kind of weird arbitration thing where he's gonna fight for the money and whatnot.
Now, I will say, I think if the Ravens win the arbitration, it's because of the video that he posted in IG. That is against
video, by the way. Hey guys, I can clear this up. Let me just show you the all 22 of the play, okay? And I'll show how I love that he said, I tried to calmly explain what happened. And clearly in the video, you see him throw his helmet off in anger, right? And screaming. This is Earl Thomas. I love it. By the way, Ace, you brought up some of the concerns. What's that?
Two things about that all 22 is that, like, one, he did not make the play, and he's the dude who got frustrated. Like, he's standing there watching it happen, and he had the audacity to get mad, records it. And then here's a wild thing about Earl Thomas's Instagram. If you actually scroll down that Instagram, there were multiple plays on that Instagram of this man just putting up like full rate. Like, there's more footage on Earl Thomas's Instagram than there is on the Baltimore Ravens trainingcamp.com. And that's just like, how can you be a 10-year vet and just be like, yeah, this should be cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you want to find Bill Belichick's old Instagram account, just go through Earl Thomas's followers. He's in there somewhere.
To be honest, something happened to him. So like, let's regress. So when he came to Baltimore, I didn't like Earl Thomas' personality, but I don't care, right? If you're gonna ball, that's fine.
Right.
Going back to Ace, he wasn't as good as he was in Seattle, but he was still good. The thing with Seattle and him, Seattle basically told play cover 3. He doesn't have to think too much. In the Ravens, we were making him blitz. We were making him show blitz and drop off. blitz from the right, blitz from the left, blitz from the middle, drop 2-man, drop single high, right? So he was doing a lot, and he said it earlier, like this is way more complicated than Seattle. And okay, dude, that's fine. You are Pro Bowl and all this. Then in week 3 when we played the Browns, week 4, he got mad because not only we lost to the Browns, he got mad with Brandon Williams because Brandon Williams was a late scratch. He wanted to fight Brandon Williams in the locker room. He said, like, yo, I didn't know you weren't playing.
Yeah.
Williams said, like, dude, I was hurt. I was a game time decision. I was hurt. I couldn't play. So that was a big scuffle. Then obviously winning cures everything, right? Then we didn't lose a game. So it was all fine. I think this year he came with a bad attitude. Again, it could be like A said with what happened in the offseason. I think nobody should pick him up, not necessarily because of talent. I think he needs to clear his mind. Yeah. I think that would have been the best thing for AB too. Like what's happening to AB now, it should have happened after he left the Steelers. So he can clear his mind and maybe come back and be the Earl Thomas that he was.
Yeah, see, the thing about the Ravens situation, I feel like I'm one of the few people who kind of saw this coming in some way, shape, or form. Because I remember we were even talking last week when we were talking about Earl Thomas. I remember you brought up that, he didn't really know the offense and that he was learning it from Seattle. I was like, that's kind of a weird thing for a 10-year NFL vet to say. Like, there's a lot of complexities in the Ravens offense. I don't doubt it. But when you're a 10-year NFL vet, you got your NFL doctorate. Like, you should be able to pick up these concepts, Like, there are guys who get picked up off the street that are expected to pick up the entire offense within like 2-3 weeks of getting signed. So, like, the fact that all season he just went through with that, and then, like, these things kept on popping up last year, the quotes, those weren't necessarily, like, what was going to get him out of Baltimore, but it was just very un-Baltimore Raven of him to do, was these quotes that would come out and just bite him in the face. And then, he had the situation over the summer, which, that's a whole different thing. I don't think that really factored into what happened to him here. But then, you have him, and what I think this ultimately is Earl didn't like what he was asked to do. He might have known the whole offense. He just didn't agree with what he was asked to do and was going to try to force himself into his old role, what he did in Seattle. And he tried to play it the hard way, and he realized, they weren't going to play that game with him, and he acted out. And, because I promise you, you only show up late to meetings because you want to wash your car because you hate your job. Like, that's stuff I've done when I had a job where I'm like, yo, they could fire me today. Like, please, I need an excuse to lose this.
Or you don't have any respect for it, right? You don't have any respect for the higher ups there. Yeah.
I mean, I think about the higher ups at that point. It's just like, yo, I hate coming here. I don't like what I'm asked to do. I don't like what I gotta do. I don't like this. I want something else. But you can't necessarily quit because it would be irresponsible. So you gotta get fired. So he was with that. Yeah. So it's like, like that kind of stuff where he's like, I'm gonna show up late so I can get my car washed. Like pretty much just, like they have a term for it. My family's from the South. It's called showing your butt. Like there's just this whole thing where he just, he decides he's gonna act out, going throw a temper tantrum. It was obvious that this was never gonna work. He was trying to, and I'm not saying he was playing 4D chess here, like everybody tries to assume. Oh, he's trying to force his way out to go to Dallas. No, he wanted to go to Dallas, or he wanted to be out, so he acted like a child in order for that to happen. And maybe he gets it, maybe he doesn't. But like, I think the one thing he didn't consider is like, yo, you get cut from the Ravens. And Seattle, like, is not really, like, they were kind of eager to get rid of him. That's going to reflect terribly on, I can't say it on here. We try to keep it PG. But, that's going to reflect terribly. That's going to reflect terribly on you as a person that, like, you went to these two great organizations and you can't, you can't really stick there, especially Baltimore. You couldn't stick there a year. Like, Baltimore is the haven for veteran players in the last 2 years of their career getting something squeezed out of nowhere. Like, watch Calais Campbell this year. I promise you, he'll be one of the talk of the AFC this year because that's what Baltimore does. They figure out ways to get the most out of you at the end of your career. And the fact that he kind of just poo-pooed that and said, I want to do what I always do. Dallas can pick him up, but like, I don't think Earl Thomas is like Earl Thomas, how he was used in Seattle anymore. And he's going to have to find that out the hard way now because somebody is going to pick him up to do the Earl Thomas thing. And, I don't think he has that lateral agility anymore like he used to. Also,
it's interesting to me.
Remember that he quit running on that play against Nick Chubb. Like that was also a factor. It then had the audacity to get in a fight with Brandon Williams, who's 6'5" and like 300 pounds. Earl Thomas like 5'8". Like that's just bad decision making there.
Yeah. It's interesting to me though that this, because we talk about, you compare this to AB, and I think it's an interesting comparison because it happened in similar ways, right? Where all of a sudden the team's just like, yo, we got to be done with this guy, right? I mean, AB kind of took it to another level, right? But it's similar. But with AB, remember that was after a year in which the Steelers missed the playoffs. It was the worst season they'd had in years. And then he started to lose it. This is a Ravens team that lost, 2 games last year, 3 if you count the playoff game. I mean, this was a team that was in ascension. Colin Cowherd's talking about this team going undefeated, right? So it wasn't like Earl's like, oh, I'm on a sinking ship. I got to get him out of here. Maybe, and look, not to say that AB felt like it was a sinking ship, but he certainly felt like he wasn't getting his just due. The Juju was there taking some his stats away, and he felt like, look, I'm not getting the respect here. I don't know where that's coming from with Earl, or why he's, if you guys are right here, that he just kind of wanted out of that situation. My question is why, right? And then the other part of this, the second part of this that I want to bring up is any sort of talk in Baltimore, and maybe this was just Lamar Jackson, and I think maybe it was, but that talk of bringing Antonio Brown in, right? If you have a guy like Earl Thomas in your locker room already, where clearly the locker room had already given up on this guy because it took one incident this offseason, like, okay, we're done, we're out, right, gone. All the players want him gone. How is there any talk in that same organization of bringing in a guy like Antonio Brown?
It's Lamar. Lamar and AB are boys because him and Hollywood are boys. And I think Antonio Brown's very smart as he knew Lamar and Hollywood were practices in Florida. So he went and practiced. And then Lamar was like, yo, you can still play. And right. So then he said to the organization, let's bring this guy. The organization, I think, was very smart. Said to Lamar, like, we had the door open, but look, they brought Des Bryant as for a workout. Had they brought AB for a workout? No, because they know. And I think this whole Earl Thomas at that point with all this drama, if anything, it will seal the deal on Antonio Brown's faith, in my opinion. He ain't coming to Baltimore.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I've always said
there's no way now. There's no way.
And I've always said this. The whole, we can come over here and fix this grown man and help him make better decisions. That's because we're such a good organization thing. That's such an overrated take in sports. And Earl Thomas is somebody you couldn't actually be in a better situation. You're on a 14-2 team, and they're asking you to just like do different things because that fits what you can do now, and you're just like, nah, I'd rather be on a different team and be Earl Thomas. And that's just, you can't change somebody. Like, no. Go ahead, Tony.
He's on a team with the MVP quarterback. He's on a team with the MVP quarterback, and he's on a team with the best cornerback room, like we talked about last week, maybe in the entire NFL. So this is not a guy who has to make up for corners who are blowing coverages or anything like that, right? This guy who just, look, Earl, you don't even have to be Earl Thomas in Seattle. Just be a guy, right? Just be good at your job, and we're going to be fine, right? Because we got a great offense. And defensively, by the way, at the end of last year, as I talked about, they were one of the best defenses in the league. So, yeah, it's surprising to me that he acted this way and got his way out of there.